Hi, Prep learners. Miss Sang here. Welcome to session 4 reading. The learning intention today is to tune into interesting verbs when reading. Success criteria. I can identify verbs. I can describe why the verb is interesting to me. I can apply my chosen interesting verb in my writing and speaking. And finally, I can reflect on how I can expand my vocabulary using interesting verbs. So, what are verbs? Verbs are doing or action words. So this includes to be and to have. Examples I have here are run, jump, and talk. But these may not necessarily be the most interesting verbs. How often have you read in a book and it would say, "Oh no," said Mum. Now the word said is a verb. However, is it interesting? It doesn't really explain to me how or what expression she used. I don't know whether she is angry, excited, sad, surprised, or in shock. So this is when you might find a more interesting word or verb instead of the word said. Could it have been, "Oh no," shouted Mum? Could it be, "Oh no," cried Mum? These are two examples of the word said, but in a more interesting way. So let's go ahead and read a book and identify some interesting verbs. So boys and girls, here I have a book from Get Epic and it's called Goldilocks and the Three Ghosts. You might also want to read a book from Get Epic, Reading Eggs, or a book from your bookshelf. And we are going to look for interesting verbs. And what are verbs? Remember, verbs are doing or action words. So, for example, walked or sang or said, these are verbs. And we are going to find some words which might be a bit more interesting than just a plain old said. So let's go ahead. I'm going to make my list. And then at the end, I'm going to use these words in my writing sometime this week. Goldilocks and the Three Ghosts. Once upon a time, there lived a nosy little girl. Her hair was golden yellow, so everyone called her Goldilocks, even though her real name was Pam. One day, Goldilocks walked into the forest. She came to a large, run-down house. "Don't go in," whispered the wind. Oh, I think the word whispered sounds interesting, so I'm going to write this into my scrapbook. What? Whispered. Whispered. So again, here I go. I'm creating my list. But Goldilocks was too nosy to listen. She marched to the front door. Marched. That's a better word than walked. So you could have had she walked to the front door. However, she marched to the front door sounds way more interesting. So I'm going to add this word to my list. Marched. Pushed it open and stomped inside. I quite like the word pushed as well as stomped. These are really interesting verbs. A light flickered in the large living room. I quite like the word flickered. So you could always say a light turned on and off in the living room. However, flickered is a better word. Look at that. I've already created such a long list of interesting verbs. I might finish off this page. So everything was covered in white cloth and dust. Spider webs clung to each corner. It looked like no one lived in this house. No living person, that is. So I'm not going to continue reading this book. If you would like to continue reading this book, you can look it up. It's called Goldilocks and the Three Ghosts on Get Epic. and create a list of interesting verbs just like what I have in your dinosaur scrapbook. And at the end, you might even want to include these words in your writing sometime this week. Good luck!